would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, the Gundungurra land, and people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which you, our listeners, are joining us from today. I recognise the deep connection that First Nations people have to this land, their enduring culture, and their commitment to the preservation and care for their country. This land was never ceded, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hey there, and welcome to Beyond the Surface, the podcast where we explore the stories of people who have survived religious trauma, left high control or cult communities, and are deconstructing their faith. I'm your host, Sam, and each week I'll talk with individuals who have taken the brave step to start shifting their beliefs that might have once controlled and defined their lives. Join us as we dig into their experiences, the challenges they've faced, and the insights they've gained. Whether you're on a similar journey or you're just curious about these powerful stories, you're in the right place. This is Beyond the Surface. Welcome, Stacey. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Whereabouts in Australia are you?
I am in Port Macquarie, so up on the mid-north coast of
Oh,
New South Wales.
nice.
Yes.
Lovely. It's is it still warm up there? I would expect it to still be warm.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. We do have a 27-degree day coming up on Wednesday.
Right.
Being a cold frog, I look for those warm pockets and go,
Right.
it's
Okay.
exciting. So it's still warm enough.
We are the polar opposite. As soon as I see it too, I'm like, gross. I grew up in the Blue Mountains, so where I mean it can get really hot, but yeah, I am not a fan. I'm the opposite of like winter blues. I love the winter, so I'm manifesting cold weather. So,
The autumn change came in
yeah,
suddenly one morning. It was like,
yeah,
oh, it's arrived.
I know. It was lovely. Well, I thought it was lovely. Um, okay, wonderful. Let's kick off. Stacey, where does your story start?
Where does my story start? So my story around faith actually starts when I was 30. So
Okay.
I came into the evangelical Pentecostal movement quite late. And I can honestly say I was in a very vulnerable state. I had just left my marriage, 4 kids, single mom. Like if you're going down a little checklist
Yeah.
that makes up a testimony, I had all the parts. And just really searching for community and connection and healing, and just thought, why not give it a go?
Mm.
Why not give it a go?
The church loves a transformation story, right?
So do with it. Yes. And it's, that whole love bombing situation that you have shared around was like feeling so loved after feeling so shattered, and coming into pieces of myself and being covered in love, was the transformational story that within a few weeks we're up on platform sharing our story about God calling us home and into the family, and right there it sets a bar and an expectation.
Yeah, it's all that belonging language,
Yes.
The word family is used very, very strategically, I find, because it's supposed to make you feel like you are a part of something, you belong. And okay, so I'm really intrigued because most people are raised in this life. There is the childhood. I am a little different but it still was teenage years. And so I'm curious what it was like as a 30-year-old single mom coming into that environment.
There was it was overwhelming and beautiful all at the same time.
Yeah.
It was it was just this. I remember sitting down before I went and really thinking, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I need to feel something better. Because I was also harboring my own queerness and trying to work out whether I could do anything with that yet. In the light of leaving marriage and all that sort of having little kids. So I made a phone call to a church and I said, I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want to come, but I don't even know what I need. And the level of comfort that was given to me, I thought, we can only try it. We can only try it.
Yeah.
And she followed up a call and was like, are you going to come? Are you going? Oh, like, we're so excited to meet you. We've been praying for you and your family. And we were like, okay, we'll go. And I remember telling my kids, and I had two teenagers and two little ones, and the teenagers looked at me and were like, what?
Oh.
We're going where?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So we had our entry point kind of already established through that phone call. Which really enveloped us. We were, come and sit at the front with the pastors, come and sit at the front with the leaders, introduced and loved on. And it felt very nourishing and very beautiful from where I was coming out of. So finding that space was retrospectively my vulnerable self needing comfort.
Yeah. And finding, I mean, the way that you describe it is like you were held almost, like you were, that enveloping sort of
Yes.
picture is that, when you're at your most vulnerable, you were held by people. And that's what vulnerable people do need in that space.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the language that is used in that vulnerable space, I now have a level of, how dare you?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you take that broken vulnerability and put languages around it that really, really needed some heavy deconstruction at the end, but that's at the end. Just stuff like, God has brought you through this. This is a test. Every Bible verse that kind of exists in that is called you by name, formed you in your womb, knew you would be here today.
All of the spiritual bypassing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, so finding ourselves in that space, and then there was roles for all of my children. So we were sowing into the house, sowing into the kingdom. And, the progression in that was very, very, very quick.
Okay. And was the progression quick in terms of, you were brought into this space, but I guess I'm thinking, when did it become a personal relationship with God?
Oh, it became a personal relationship with God probably for me about 6 weeks in.
Oh, that is
So it fast tracked through as someone who is a lifelong learner and loves learning and has a thirst for knowledge, there was courses.
Oh, please tell me it wasn't Alpha Crucis. Was it? Oh my goodness.
Uh,
Okay. Right.
yeah, we're there. So,
Okay.
and that's kind of, now I look at that like a little bit of a reprogramming.
Yeah, absolutely.
And going,
Oh,
oh, okay, all of this was because Jesus loves me and wants me to
mm,
come home. So then I just sought him. I
mm,
sought him with everything that I had, more courses, serving, Bible college, you name it, whatever I could do to seek that feeling of closeness to God, I was doing it. I was absolutely longing for that connection with God. And now I can identify that feeling was the love bombing.
Yeah.
But that personal relationship with God, my whole day, my whole world changed. There was no secular music. We did not do Veggie Tales.
Oh, thank goodness for
That one,
that.
I am so proud
The
of myself for that.
creepiest thing I've ever seen. If people have never heard of Veggie Tales, and the US probably have not heard, but essentially it's just like an animated children's series of vegetables who sing and talk about Jesus and the Bible, and it is honestly the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
approach with caution if you
Mm.
YouTube that. If you don't know what it is, approach with caution because it is, and don't let your children see it. It's terrifying. They'll
No,
have nightmares.
absolutely. My wife's children are like, you didn't make your kids watch it? Like, no, they saw it
No.
in kids' church, but that was about it. That
Yeah,
was about
okay.
it. Yeah. So we removed everything that could have been like little carved Buddhas that my daughter had bought me, things like that, anything that could be idolatry, any music that could be idolatry. And we are a family that not relies heavily on music, but enjoys music heavily, like quite a lot. So that all changed and come on, kids, let's pray before we leave. Let's leave the house. Let's pray when we get in the car for protection. Let's pray for a parking spot. I mean, have we not all anyone gone,
Oh my
Lord
gosh, I
Jesus?
so have. Like, and I
I
don't
know.
even drive, but I used to be the person, like even when my wife and I first got together, I'd be like, oh my gosh, okay, we're going to like this super big shopping center, and you would be driving and you would be like, oh, please, Lord, let us get a parking spot. And when you get one, you thank him and you think
Oh,
that that's
yes,
a blessing. And you're like,
absolutely.
it's just a fucking car park.
I know.
It blows my mind.
I know,
Yeah.
just those little daily transformations that you do.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, all glory goes to God.
Yeah.
All of the glory goes to God. So, we were 2 services a day, multi-campus, be wherever they needed us to be. Um, and it wasn't uncommon that my kids would just find me sitting out the back with music on and Bible studies. And I had so like every Christian book and just really, really hungering for how I can make that relationship with God so much stronger.
Mm.
And yeah, like I said, grappling with my own queerness, knowing if I wanted to continue in church, and moving the way I was moving into leadership and employment and things like that, it would just have to be pushed down,
Yeah.
and that Jesus could be my husband, and that would be enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, grappling with all of that, but really relying on Jesus to be the filler
Mm.
of those spaces. So that personal relationship was like a lot. People would go, "Oh, what are you doing today?" "I'm just hanging out with the Lord."
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was very personal, very intense.
Yeah. And
I
I
don't.
mean, there's like my brain is going in so many different directions as I hear that because, the constant Bible study and I mean, it's just that constant striving. You've just got to
Mhm.
keep going. It's just more, it's more, it's more. And I mean, aside from the fact that, like, there is the irony around that we are supposed to be striving to be like Jesus, but also Jesus is supposed to be perfect and
Mhm.
holy, and that's unattainable, but it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to keep trying to get to it.
Exactly.
Like, that's
Exactly.
exhausting.
It's chasing your tail
Yeah.
around and around and around. I remember once my daughter said to me, the difference between my relationship with God, Mum, and yours is I just know He loves me.
Oh, wow.
And you are working every day to make Him love you more.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's not how it's meant to go.
It's not, but it's the way that it's packaged a lot of the time. I remember an elder saying in a sermon that it is only faith that saves, but faith alone without works will do nothing. And I was
It's,
like, oh, like, I don't know that that's how it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Um, yeah, okay. And I would imagine if there was a deep love of music, that there's a reason the Pentecostal church probably called to you, because if they do one thing well, they do music well.
that's right. And I was like, what if I go and I like it?
Mm,
And, or like, I want somewhere that's enjoyable for my children.
mm,
And my daughter is still a very gifted singer.
mm,
We just, yeah. So she was like 14 and up on worship stage within a few weeks,
mm,
leading big worship. And yeah, I still have videos, and I adore those videos.
mm,
But it's not, now I look back and I think she hadn't said, uh, you know, done the whole forgiveness prayer, given her life over to the Lord. She hadn't been baptized.
mm.
She hadn't pledged her faith to the church in any way. She was 14, and yet that's another sense of how can we close that fold in. Here, we're going to give you a whole service, a whole big congregation to lead. And the euphoria in that. I think I read somewhere that the Pentecostal songs, a lot of them have four similar bars that release a hit of dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates that feeling
Yeah.
of the Holy Spirit. So when she was doing AM and PM services, yeah, she was just like, she was exhausted, but she was there. She was really in that moment.
Yeah, it's invigorating. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and it is. It's just a dopamine hit. And I think particularly if you look at um I guess the more upbeat music that some of the
Mhm.
Pentecostal churches, and you see it with the Hillsong music in particular,
Mhm.
uh, if you took the words away, the music could be secular music. If you
Absolutely.
and that is done very, very strategically, because it is supposed to be alluring. It's supposed to entice you. It's supposed to make you feel a certain way. The
Yes.
melody is designed to create an emotional response in you.
Hmm.
And people don't realize, I think, until they're out, just how manipulative that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I put one song on, I think it was like a year ago, and I just sat and I was like, how does this make me feel now?
Mm,
And it still evoked like a memory response in my body where I was like, oh,
absolutely.
I remember this. I
Yeah.
remember this. So and as you probably know, in Australia, there's that show going on, Stan, at the moment. And I sat there and I watched it with
Oh,
my
yeah.
wife, and we were just like, this is absolutely correct. It's so traumatizing, but it feels so
Mm,
familiar that it felt
yeah.
homely, almost homely.
Yeah.
Like
There's a
I relate.
comfort about it. There's an
Ex-
ease.
yes, and that's trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These.
The show that Stacey's talking about is called Prosper, and it's on a platform in Australia called Stan. I'm not sure where you would get that internationally, but by the time this episode is released, my good friend Jane and Elise and I are going to do a bonus episode talking all things Prosper, because it's a shit show. Um, and my wife and I started watching it, and she comes from a Pentecostal church, and I didn't. And so she did not make it all the way through it. It is not easy to watch. So if you do have a background in Pentecostalism or even any sort of evangelical type church, go gently with that show
Yes.
because it is not easy. And if you are not from a church background, watch it and you'll be weirded out because it's weird. And it's
Yeah.
like that's just really fucking weird. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Let's come back to how long were
Yes.
you in this church for?
I was present in the church. I was in the church for a total of 9 years before I
Oh wow.
started. Yeah. Yeah. So I started to, um, the closer I came to God, I decided to undertake a theology degree and thus began my undoing.
The beginning of the end, right?
Exactly.
I find that two main threads happen for people, and it's either the closer they get to the top of the leadership program, like team in a church, the more they realize just how controlled and targeted and manipulative and businesslike a church runs, or they start to do any form of theological training and they realize this is not what I thought I had ever known. And it sort of
Ye-
starts, it's like pulling at a thread. And once
Yeah,
you start pulling, it just unravels. Um,
absolutely. And the way that in those years, I started to feel so disconnected. I started to
mm,
try harder to reconnect. Like profusely, I fasted a lot. I did a lot of the Daniel fasting. I bought the
oh,
book,
yeah. Gross.
the recipe book, and the prayer book,
Oh,
and
yeah. Okay.
and but I had a massive issue with corporate fasting. I was like, it's not what it says, but
Mm,
and then I actually yeah, I totally fasted from self-pleasure for a year. I was like, all right, God, if I need you to come back in, I need you to take control. I mean, I don't really want to go and explore something and then come back to you because I know what you think, whatever, whatever. So I just hands off anything for like to do with myself for 12 months. Yeah, it was really intense. And I actually found yeah, the more I knew, the more I started to pull back into myself. I started to pull back into my truth. And I was just like going, what, we're not taught to trust ourselves anymore.
mm,
We don't know. We don't know what we're meant to do. God knows, and He will put those things in your path, and He knows the way. Go
mm,
Jeremiah.
yeah.
But so when it was like myself started being awakened.
Mm,
And I remember going to a red tent. Have you ever been
no.
to a red tent? It's a women's circle, and it's based around your menstrual cycle. You sit with women in the
Right.
order of your menstrual cycle, and women just share. Whoever has the bowl shares whatever's on their heart. Um, and I remember being so scared someone would find out I was there.
Mm,
It's like, but then I remember, oh no, this is in Exodus, how the women would have to go to the tent when they were unclean. This is what the red tent means. And I bought the book and I read the book, The Red Tent. And okay, this is all right. It aligns. But even being there with awakened women and going, this is not the whole people are looking out at you going, you have it together. You have that something that everyone wants. They want that joy, that connection that you have because you have Christ living in you.
mhm,
Um, I'm actually like more lost in my self-awareness and whatnot. So those sorts of things coming to the surface and being able to go, outside of that bubble that I had placed myself in,
Mm.
what is in me?
Yeah.
What is there? And starting to explore that came with a lot of guilt.
Yeah. Yeah. That unraveling process, I think for a lot of people, um, a lot of people can assume that that's just like, a coming home, and it is, because that coming home is coming home to yourself, but that also comes with like a lot of overwhelming emotions and
Mm,
a lot of destabilization. It's like the rug has been pulled out from under you and you've got nothing to center your gravity anymore. And that's a real shock to the system, also, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. I, at this point, I was like working in the church, employed in the church, and I sought out a coach. I was
It's
like, I
very
don't want any,
rebellious of you.
I know, I didn't tell anyone. I was like, I need to just works on what is I didn't even know what I needed. I
I
remember I was
mean,
just like,
my first thought is the only thing worse that you could seek out while you're at church than a coach would be a therapist, which is
I
ironic
know,
because we both are. So,
absolutely.
I thought, okay, so you sought out a coach.
I did. And she was amazing at holding space. Like she
Mm,
had her program all set up. It did not go that way. I remember, I think it was the third meeting, and I was like up on a headland somewhere, and I rebuked myself for an hour with every passage I knew that was condemning myself for being where I was in my questioning. And because I couldn't share, I felt like, especially being in the church leadership ladder, you could not go to someone and say, I am really struggling, explain this to me again. You
mm,
had a picture you had to live by, kind of thing. So she just sat there and held space for me. And really, as I have looked back on that moment, it was such a beautiful moment, because as much as I was like, if I shouldn't even be looking at this, I should just be trusting in the Lord my God. Like my life verse is Proverbs 3:5.
yeah.
This and over and over and over. And I was just, now I look back and I go, I was releasing a lot of that. It
Mm.
was a very, very intense hour and a half. I'm sure she needed a drink afterwards.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure you probably could have as well after. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was intense. And during that space, and then after that, I said to her, I need to back off. And she was like, okay, that's fine if you need to take a couple of weeks. And yeah, at that point, I really kind of sat with myself and went, who am I?
Mm,
Under all of this, if I truly believe that I have been created perfect,
yeah.
yet I'm born in sin.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't even get me started on that contradiction. Oh,
And I was like, at my core, I knew I was a lesbian. I think the first time I had ever danced with that was when I was 22.
yeah.
And but I had two kids. I was just like, oh no, not going
Yeah.
to do that. And that started to really bubble up again.
Mm,
And so I sort of stepped back from attending church and just locked the front door, because you get phone calls and why aren't you coming? Well, at least let me pick up your kids. And I was like, no, they're fine.
mm,
Um, and really just tried to separate myself a little bit,
yeah.
um, to work out who I was and where I was.
Mm,
And yeah, so that was a beautiful but absolutely difficult time, because in questioning that came with, if I follow this truth that I'm unraveling, I am going to lose this entire community that they came to my father's funeral.
Yeah.
They held us. They cooked birthday dinners for us. We celebrated milestones like these. I really felt were my people, but I was like, I cannot have both.
Yeah.
So it really felt like choosing, am I going to choose my God and my faith, or am I going to choose myself? And I came to a peaceful place. I just finished a theology degree, put it in, and my old senior pastors had knocked on the door and asked if they could take my boys camping for a weekend. And they said, but we won't have reception, so you won't be able to get in touch with us. And I was like, oh, yep, sure. I just really felt that. So I sat with myself and I was like, I can't do this anymore. My core values, my biggest core value is authenticity.
Yeah.
So I need to embrace all that I am. And if that means, I knew that what that would mean, what that would entail. So then I had to work out a strategy to be able to do that, because that was my work. That was my world. That was,
It's
that
your
was
identity.
absolutely like that. There was ministries. As I said, I was employed. I was at every leadership meeting, and I had been present when other things along these lines had happened. So I knew what would happen. And I talked to a friend who was in church and left, and they were like, "Oh, girl, I knew a long time ago that you like you would talk about it. You were like always arguing with people about it around the Marriage Act and whatnot." And but they were like a little bit more like, just tell them while you're still in there and see what they do. And I went, no, it needs to be on my terms. So that was a big, big decision that took a couple of months of strategic planning. And that's when I reconnected with my coach and I sent her a video. And I was like, this, and I feel like, and I held up something and I just written, I'm gay. And the way she celebrated me in my authenticity, I felt as held as I did when I first started going to church, if not more, because it was real.
And it was all of you.
It was all of me without judgment. There wasn't an if, there wasn't a condition, there wasn't like a KPI of souls. There wasn't
I love that term.
there wasn't anything about it except for, I am just so happy for you. So thus began my transition out of the church. And first thing I did was like ring them up and say, I'm going to resign. And they tried to talk me out of it. And I was like, no, I have to resign. And I really pushed and I got out because I wasn't going to come out or have relationships while I was affiliated. I still had 2 kids going to school. I had that area of my life to think about, but yeah, I wound it up and I ended my time and walked away. And I remember walking home and unfriending all the leaders.
Oh, wow.
And I had told 3 people that were very important, and I may well up, were very important people in my life that I really did want to keep in my life that were, and I was like, I don't want to hear the whole God hates the sin, but not the sinner.
Love the sinner, hate the sin.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear we can pray it away. I don't want to hear Jesus is enough. And but this is who I am. I am queer. I am gay. I like women. And I really hope you can still love me. And now I look at those messages and I'm like, what did you write? You
Yeah.
gave all these reasons why they should just love you.
Mm,
Um, and they're not around. They were like, oh, I love you, but I,
mm.
don't agree, or I don't believe, or I don't. I can
For the,
be, I
for
can
the record, for people who are listening, I love you, but is not love.
exactly, exactly, and that's been the biggest gift of coming out of the church as well, is finding that unconditional space of love.
Yeah.
That we're taught, our slate is wiped clean, but then we've also forced, and I'm sorry, I'm going off track.
No, it's fine.
Um, we're not forced, but we're asked to relive our trauma over and over again.
Yeah.
Our test is our testimony, our mess is our message.
Mm-hmm.
What is the worst thing that's happened to you, and how did God change that? Could you share about that in front of 300, 400, 500 people on Sunday? Because that will really, really help people connect to the Lord. So we're constantly, as much as our slate's wiped clean, it's not, because there's a reliance on,
Mm.
oh, this is how we connect. This is how we make connections. This is how we bring people in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I was a backslider.
Oh my gosh, there's so much terminology in this episode that's going to be like, oh, I
Little
mean,
notes at the bottom.
I mean, also for your friends who said just come out while you're still in there, that doesn't go down either. That's a terrible option.
Yeah.
I think in that scenario, I mean, what you described is that it comes with risk, and there's no way that you can play out that scenario and not lose something. You
Yeah.
either play it out and you lose yourself, and you keep pushing it down, or you play it out and you potentially lose people who are like your family,
Mm.
and potentially lose, I remember describing it as I felt like I lost everything that made me me. Um,
Mm.
it's, church is not just a building, church is your identity.
Very much so. Very
So
much
that
so.
unraveling is deeply painful. I think a lot of people do see when people come out as celebratory and joyous. Um, but if that coming out has been delayed because of
Mhm.
something, um, it's not always joyous, it's painful, and it's traumatizing for some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it does come with, you have to grieve the people. You have to
Mm,
grieve the life you had. You had to have to grieve even things like mowing your lawn now. If you were in a church where it was heavily emphasized to care for each other, or moving house, you go, oh, well, if I was still in the church, this is how it would work.
yeah.
Now there's a different way I have to do it, or however the case may be. So reconfiguring your life a little bit, and finding secular music again was fun. So much had happened and had changed, and it was great. Um, but I was in like a big space in the church where I actually still have an Instagram page called the Gathered Collective, where I would write Christian poetry. It got published in London somewhere, by the Print Collective over there. And that would be prayer time where God would drop it on. So then going, okay, what sort of poetry do I have now? Do I
Mm,
have poetry?
yeah.
Yeah. Do I have that in me now? And what was always of God,
Mm.
because I also had the label of being prophetic.
Ah,
Ah,
that old thing.
that whole thing, the whole spiritual gifts test. And
Oh, yikes.
no, sorry, I
Okay.
just had a trauma childhood where I had
Mm.
hypervigilance. That's all it was.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, the spiritual gifts is a big conversation and a weird. My church home uh, was not charismatic. We didn't talk about the Holy Spirit even all that much because
Right.
that was too. Um, it was too woo-woo and spiritual. We certainly did not talk about spiritual gifts and speaking in tongues. I mean,
Oh,
um, you didn't raise your hands in worship or anything like that because it was too much about you. And so yeah, prophecy is an interesting
oh,
conversation, I feel
oh,
like.
yeah, definitely.
I
I
mean, and
had,
also, where does prophecy start and intuition end?
right? I once had a young girl, how old? She was about 18, and she brought me a photo, like into college. I was teaching a class on Nahum, and she went, could you like just put your hands on this and tell me if this is my husband or if I am like just lusting? Because if I'm lusting, I need to work on this. And I went, I remember just feeling so conflicted and going, I said, if it's the Lord's plan, it will come. It's just like, but are you getting anything? Like, is God telling you anything? I've seen you be able to tell people things. And I was like, during my deconstruction phase, I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, like things like that would happen. And it felt really heavy. I
Mm,
didn't want that label. If I was going through my spiritual gifts, I know which one I wanted. It wasn't that.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my
So
goodness. Yeah.
there's definitely that was definitely happening more than once.
Oh goodness. And I feel like again, I there's so much wrong with that situation. Um, but it just further reinforces that um you don't trust your own intuition. Everything is diverted to an
Mm,
external authority. And so I find that, something that happens for people in their deconstruction is that they need to learn how to trust themselves. They need to
mhm,
learn what their own voice sounds like, not just the voice of God or the voice of the pastor or their
mhm,
mentor or um, what was that? Um, I mean, deconstruction is the easiest word to use here,
mhm.
but um, that reintegration into secular society, like for you, and into the queer community, because that is its own community also.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's so much religious trauma within the queer community.
Yeah.
Uh, so much. And I actually started working with youth
Mm,
and homeless youth who are at risk and were living in refuges and things like that. And more often than not, the queer kids were there because their families did not
yeah.
accept their children as queer, as trans, as non-binary, as a lesbian, and and they were the most beautiful teachers to me in
Mm,
that time of being able to embrace my queerness, um, being able to embrace my queerness for a purpose. And I guess that can sort of like line up a little bit biblically if we tried. I mean, if we tried, we can line anything up biblically, right?
hmm
But for me, it was like embracing that my authentic self still had a purpose,
Yeah.
that it wasn't gone because I wasn't in the church. I wasn't handing out the buckets. I wasn't doing the communion. I wasn't doing the tithing. I wasn't traveling to the conferences. My
Mm,
worth wasn't found in any of that. My value wasn't found in any of that. My value was found in the most authentic parts of me and how I could connect with people um, exactly where they were without any judgment, without any, and during that deconstruction phase, you also have those little Bible verses that kind of flash up.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you don't ask for it.
Muscle
You just,
memory. Yeah.
yeah, it just,
Yeah.
you're like, ouch.
Yeah, absolutely. I have found we are recording this ironically on Good Friday, which I love the poeticness of that. But Easter is still a time that I find very difficult to navigate, as do a lot of people.
Mm.
And I find in the in the weeks leading up to Easter that I periodically will have Easter songs or like Bible verses just come up out of seemingly nowhere.
Mhm.
But I think, a beautiful way to sort of, summarize what you just said, is, on Good Friday and every day that's not, you are good, and
Exactly.
your heart is good and, every part of you is good and not in any way broken.
Mm.
So I love that you learnt that from the youth, because I
Yeah.
think there is this notion that we are supposed to learn from the wisdom of those older and those who have gone before.
Mm.
Um, but you can learn so much from those who are coming after you.
Oh yeah. And they are woke. They
Absolutely.
they are
Yeah.
down with everything. And I have such, like I said, I have such beautiful learnings from
Mm,
them and just the essence of who they were and who they are and who they aspire to be, and that their dreams are no different. Their
yeah.
dreams are no different. And there was also a heaviness and a sadness of going, I know the reasons why your parents are thinking this way.
Yeah.
And I guess at that in the early stages, there was a guilt in me for knowing that.
Mm,
Um, I didn't feel that way. Like my daughter was bisexual. I have a son who is gay, and
yeah.
like he actually confronted me about being queer before I actually said anything.
Oh, wow.
But um yeah, just that guilt of understanding and being in those conversations or being witness to those conversations when, oh, we must pray about this because X's son has decided
Mm,
he is. And it's, oh, do you think he decided? Because
mm.
I don't think it's a decision. And they would kind of, I was kind of always the rebellious leader.
Yeah, same.
The yeah.
I get that.
Could wrap up staff meeting quickly,
Yeah.
Stacey. Can we see you up in the pastor's
Mm,
office? We need to lay
yeah.
hands and pray.
Mm.
At one point getting dreadlocks just because I wanted them, and
Oh,
them going,
wow.
oh, that's you're Rastafarian now. I'm like, no, it's a hairdo.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness
It
gracious.
was hilarious. It was
Yeah.
hilarious in hindsight, but I just came back at them with Samson's locks, so it was fine. Uh,
Yes. Oh, that's great.
but
Um,
yeah, so I felt that guilt. But as I worked more with these kids and just absorbed their gorgeous,
mm,
gorgeous minds and hearts and knowledge and fun and joy and struggles, I just felt so privileged to be awakened to who I was,
yeah.
even if it was later.
Mm. I love that. It is, and I think it is often really difficult when you have seen both sides of the coin, to
Hmm.
use that analogy. You've sat on both sides of the fence, and it is it can be difficult to navigate that. But yeah, often I find that I see the most, ironically, I'm going to use a really, really like Christianese
Oh,
language in this,
you're
but
already
I
cringing.
know, I know, because I cringe at this word in general because of the connotation to it. Um, but you see such purity in that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and particularly in that, the queer joy and the queer pride, um, and I think it almost, awakens a part of your spirit that was never allowed to be awake. It always had to
Abs
be asleep.
yeah. You've summarized that so
Yeah.
beautifully. So beautifully. That whole feeling of never, and I think that's why I chase God so much.
Yeah.
It was there was never that fullness that I have now.
Mm,
And that I'm so so grateful for now on the other side.
mm,
But yeah, it's like everyone can be our teacher. Everyone and every event can be our teacher. So when I started going, no, I'm going to go into therapy space because I've always felt really, really honored to
mm.
hear people's stories. So I love what you're doing of sharing people's stories. I find it just empowering and beautiful, and it brings a sense of people knowing they're not alone in their feelings.
Yeah.
So important.
Mm,
Absolutely so important. And yeah, so coming into that and going, where do I want to work? What realm do I want to attract? And even with that, like I identify as an LGBTQIA plus therapist,
mm,
focusing on sex therapy because of all the shaming around that area,
mm.
the patriarchal as well. Like,
Yeah, they're
ah,
intertwined.
they absolutely.
Mm,
um, but I just always attract someone who's grappling with, they
mm.
either are or they're grappling with their own sexual identity.
Yeah.
And more often than not, there is religion involved.
Mm,
So finding that space for them and being able to hold space for them, um, it's again still so so honoring and
mm.
so beautiful to be able to do that. Um, but having to hold your tongue sometimes and just be like,
Mhm. That's why I love
yeah.
this podcast, because I don't have to have my therapist hat on,
Mhm.
where I filter what I say. Although I mean, even if people go on my social media, I'm not super filtered on there anyway. And I find that that's what people are drawn to, though, because
Mhm.
they need, and I was drawn to that when I went seeking therapy as well. I needed someone who was going to be just as authentic and as real, and like, this shit is fucking awful sort of
Yeah.
real. And people need you to put language to what they're going through and to say that was abusive. That is
Mhm.
not okay.
Yeah.
And they need that validation. And part of, what you just said in terms of, feeling less alone, was where this podcast was born. And
Mm.
and I, yes, we can learn a lot through therapy and through, I guess, the logical, this behavior is not okay. But I think that the most, we heal in relationship and in
Mhm.
connection, um, and we often feel the most understood when we hear our stories and our experiences in someone else's.
Exactly. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that so much. It's it really there is so much power in our words and our stories and what yeah. You would just put that eloquently. I'm not even going to try and
And also reclaiming what used to be like your testimony, like you said,
Mhm.
your testimony is your story, but being able to voice your story in an authentic way without the need for it to save someone else's soul.
Yes.
Like, maybe let's take that off the table and
Yeah.
actually, remove the eternal pressure for
Mhm.
your testimony to be a blessing to someone else.
Yeah.
Let's remove that and let's just go, actually, your story matters
Mhm.
always,
Yep.
regardless. And so, yeah. Where is your sense of spirituality, your sense of God now?
Mm. I would identify myself more on the agnostic scale.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be very careful when entering into intellectual conversations on TikTok, because I can
Mm-hmm.
find myself in white Christian TikTok, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
queer, everything queer, get me back home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the algorithm is sometimes not kind to us.
No, it's like you look at one thing or you
Yeah.
Google one thing. So yeah, I would describe myself more as agnostic and seeking. I totally, can believe that Jesus was a person who
Mm.
existed at a time, but the rest,
Mm.
in the weaponry that's been created from that, in so many ways, shapes, and forms, going back so many hundreds of years,
Yeah.
I just can't get on board with. I knew a beautiful South Sudanese man, and he had a big church over in South Sudan, and the situation over there got too hectic, and he had to leave and coming to Australia. He just organised services for Africans. And he and I sat down one day, and it was right in my grapple with,
Mm.
hearing that homosexual wasn't always in the Bible, and
Mm.
really researching that. And I asked him, and even though he was a very traditional South Sudanese man, I was like, do you think that homosexuality was always in the Bible, or da da da? And he was like, well, Aramaic doesn't exist anymore. The closest we have is Arabic.
Mm.
He said one word can mean 5 things.
Yeah.
So to translate everything, it's impossible.
Mm.
But the message is always the same. And I said, okay, what's that? And he's like, love.
Yeah.
If you can just love everybody without
Mm-hmm.
asking of anything, you've got the message.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, good chat.
Mm. Actually, yeah, good chat. Yeah.
It was it was great. It was great. And it allowed me to spend a lot of sunrises at the beach, and it allowed me to release my own ideology that I had built, and my own my own relationship of man and church. Release that, and just find peace in the ability that I knew that I had to love people and love their stories and love community, no matter what that looked like.
Mm.
And that was, yeah, my like little saving coffee chat with
Mm.
a beautiful man.
I
That was,
love that.
yeah, so
Mm.
grateful for that.
It reminds me, and it reminds me because I have it tattooed on my right arm. But there is a song out of my favorite musical, Rent, which is about oh, Stacey is giving me a wonderful reaction to that. If people have not seen Rent, trust me, go and watch it. It's incredible. I describe it as the musical that even non-musical fans will love. It's incredible. But I have a line from the main song, Seasons of Love, tattooed on my arm, and it says, measure your life in love.
Yeah,
And it just reminded me of, everything comes back to love.
yeah,
Yeah. I love that.
yeah.
Okay, I have been finishing these episodes with one question, which
Mhm.
is, what would you say to somebody who is deep in their deconstruction?
Oh, the answer is love. And no, I would, that everything is valid.
Yeah, I love that.
Everything is valid.
Yeah. I mean, and love, but like
Mm,
love for you also. So
yeah.
I think that is still a super relevant answer. I think love is a
Yeah.
valid answer. I mean,
Yeah.
say no is a complete sentence. Love should be as well.
Yes. The validity, because we go through the deconstruction with so many different emotions
Mm.
that we're told not to have.
Yeah.
So being able to say your anger is valid, your guilt is valid, your sadness is valid, your grief is valid, your joy, your wonder, because as we know, healing, grief, all these emotions, they're not linear, they ebb and they flow. And these are things that are now like ingrained in us and are defaults. And they're all valid. They all have a place in your story, and they don't make you any less valid.
Yeah. It's just your humanity. Your humanity is valid. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
I love every time I get to do these. As much as I love my US and Canadian guests, I love having another Australian or even a New Zealand voice on the other side. So it's there's a comfort about that.
Yeah,
So I
that's
love that.
nice.
So thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Surface. I hope you found today's conversation as insightful and inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from these stories. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more content. I love connecting with all of you. Remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you're not alone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep moving forward. Take care.